This is Tom Locke from Swogoi Gaming. You're listening to Concede. Enjoy their body of work. Starting at the bottom with the Bodicus, moving to the Appa half, and top it all off with a ridiculous hat. Enjoy the show.
Greetings.
Hello.
Greet my greeting.
Well met.
I greet you.
Greetings, traveler.
Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 160 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. From the Maelstrom, Louisiana, it's me, Appa. From Gadsden, New York, it's Ridiculous Hat, and I'm sure that intro just tickled you, huh, Hat?
It was quite ticklish. Yes, thank you, Tom Locke, for your punny intro clip. I don't have anything for
And
this.
from Carazan, California, it's Bodicus. How you doing, Bot?
I'm doing great.
I heard you got a little something going on today.
Kind of, I guess. See, when you've had as many birthdays as I've had, Appa, they don't mean quite as much as they used to.
They have diminishing returns the older you get.
Kind of. I mean, I went to work today, and I came home and played a little WoW. And
You are
got ready
painting
for
a
the show.
bleak picture for our younger listeners about the realities of adult life. What'd you do today?
That
Same thing
sounded-
as every other day. Get used to
That
it.
sounded so bad. I woke up, I went to work, I came home. Birthday!
Yeah.
And I share a birthday with one of my coworkers, and he got a cake. I did not. I guess it was a cake technically for both of us, but
This is the worst birthday ever. Yeah, I don't even get my own birthday, and they gave my
Look,
coworker a
it's
cake and
okay. We're
forgot
gonna
about
give
me.
we're gonna give him the dopest birthday this weekend at Blizzcon. So
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be sweet. I can't wait. Oh man, I see you guys in 2 days.
Pretty stoked.
By the time the listeners hear this, probably it'll be happening like the same day or
Yeah.
something. I don't know when we're posting this, but whenever we do, BlizzCon will be happening.
I'm going to try and get it out before BlizzCon. I'm making a commitment to myself to finish editing it tomorrow, which means I'm making unrealistic promises to everyone. And or at least the patrons will be aware of that right now.
look, Hat, you can sleep on the plane. All right.
That's
your
that
lot of
time's
sleep
been
time.
budgeted, but we do also have to do some editing and uploading, and yeah, I'm trying this new thing where it's like sleep occasionally, and also drink water, and it's been a pretty amazing change.
Yeah, you went to bed at 1:30.
I was
Yesterday?
in bed at 1:30. I logged off at 1:15.
Yeah,
Eastern
that's
time.
Weird.
Big
And
difference.
that's your time. That's not my time. Usually around my time, I'm going to bed about then, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do a couple more things, and then I might think about going to bed.
Yeah. And then I'm just worried about one day I'll wake up and it's my birthday, but somebody else's, and they didn't even get me a cake. And so I'm just trying to conserve my life into a place where I can see happiness and not just shades of gray. Yeah.
This sounds like the bleakest Coin Concede intro ever.
Yes.
All right, welcome to Coin Concede featuring Edgar Allan Poe himself.
Yes. And Franz Kafka in The Terror of the Mundane.
All right, so let's get into the show. But before we do, I'd like to take a second to say Coin Concede is supported in large part by you, the listener. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, head on over to patreon.com/CoinConcede. And thanks to AJ Gomez for being our newest patron. Yay! Hooray!
Yay. We're excited. I just
Yeah,
forgot to
this
unmute.
part will just be me cheering.
Yeah. I promise we are actually excited. I was just cheering into a muted mic. So
Unlucky.
I mean,
So,
it was a misplay.
speaking of misplays, how's your week been, Hat?
Excuse, what was that segue? What on earth was
It
that
wasn't-
segue?
Oh, it was the best segue. I love this segue. Keep it going.
Okay, hold on. I've played one ladder game in the past 5 days, and I won it. So chill out. And we can talk.
I
This
mean,
is
yeah, we got to talk about it.
this is a game to watch. This would be a hat story if it were, and okay, it's not as good as the game to watch this week, but so Appa and Bodicus have both been talking about various builds of Value Shaman. We were literally talking in Discord today about how good Thunderhead is, and about Hagatha, and about Value Shaman, and Bodicus talked about it in the show last week about how we fatigued a control warrior. Was it Bodicus? What did you fatigue?
Whoa! We are talking about two very different decks.
Well,
My-
I'm aware
deck
that
I'm
Murloc
talking-
Quest Shaman and the deck I'm talking about are slightly different, but the point here is the value.
Slightly.
The point is they
Slut.
contain value.
It's-
They're on different planets. I don't
Okay.
know what you're talking
okay.
about.
So, anyways,
Look, man, when I'm shutterwalking a Megafin, I'm on Value Shaman.
okay, I failed to analogize properly. I'm sorry about that, but anyways, we were talking about Thunderheads and how good they are, and the Overload cards, and Even Shaman, and then I play one game on the ladder because I'm like, you know what? It's been a little while since I've played. I played a bunch of ladder, and so I found a Tempo Rogue list that was on the front page of Hearthstone when I was looking for news articles today. Good old Keliseth Tempo Rogue. I was like, you know what? I'll try it because I miss Cobalt Scalebane, and so I tried it. In the first game, it's not odd, it's not even, it's just Shaman, and I found it interesting that I was surprised that we were both able to play cards of all mana costs, but when we started the game, nothing popped up. It was just a regular rogue versus a regular shaman, and I thought I was ahead. I got down a Hench Clan Thug, and then I got down and he killed it, and then I got an SI and an Elven Minstrel, and then he goes Thunderhead, Voltaic Burst, Zap, and I'm like, oh, well, that's bad. And so I was able to draw the backstab in the second SI and kill the Thunderhead, and he had 3 1/1 stuff, and then he's like, Cult Master, kill your stuff, draw 3 cards. Oh, this is bad. Not good for me. But then I recovered a little bit. I played a Serenite Chain Gang. I played out I think, some 3/4, I forget what it was. Something with 4 toughness. And then turn 8, he's like, Hagatha. I'm like, okay. Well, I guess we're just going to have value forever. And then he's like, Kalamos. I was like, okay, whatever. And the entire game, my opponent has 10 cards in hand. And I got Crushing Handed twice. And I got, I'm getting completely leveled. But with the Kalamos, he made a slight misplay. He filled his board with 1/1s. And my hand was Leroy and Shadow Step, and my opponent was at 14. So I hit him with a dagger, and I re-daggered, which left him at 13. And if you've done the math, Leroy plus dagger is 13. And then he goes, off of Hagatha, on a full board, the Storm Guardian. And he got the following things. Cairn Bloodhoof, Lore Master Cho, and 0 taunts. So it was completely goofy, and so much value, and then I killed him in the face. And I feel like the villains won, but it was secretly the ending you were rooting for the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think you were the hero of that story.
It's,
I think you just kicked over that dude's sandcastle.
yeah, it reminds me of, like, in Magic, the old days when you were playing this really intricate, like, Krark Clan Ironworks combo deck, and the other person just goes, like, Mountain, Mog Fanatic Go, and just plays, like, tiny red 1-drops and kills you on turn 5, because you were doing everything you can to try and make these fancy, cool cards that just go off, and infinite combo, and your opponent's like, Lightning Bolt you, take 3.
Trust me, nowadays, Crackline Ironworks is nobody. Nobody is calling you the hero in any situation whatsoever regarding that card anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, and not to go too deep into the Magic comparisons, but that card is definitely the Carnivorous Cube equivalent of Magic. That
Yeah, really interesting
Yes.
effect. Never used for good.
No.
Always evil.
always evil. Yeah. So that was my story. Super fun. And after that game, I just kind of sat there and thought about what I'd done for a while, and then I closed Hearthstone and worked in the show notes some more. How about you guys? Speaking of segues that don't crap on my other hosts.
It's called tough love, that.
It's why? Why do I need love that's particularly tough? Why can't I have nice love?
Because you keep him prepped too much.
It's,
Got 'em.
Okay. That's not a thing. You can't do that. One of you talk. I'm muting and fuming for a little bit.
I'm sorry, Hat. I love you.
I love you too, but no, you're not.
You're right. So I've been playing a bunch of Even Shaman on the Americas server since I got Legend on EU and Americas. I'm working on trying to get a finish on Americas, and I've been playing Even Shaman. I was playing a few different decks, and I just tanked super hard from like 1800 all the way down to I think 4700 is where I ended up. Yeah, I was like, I feel like I just need to start doing this more often because I feel like whenever I'm on a bad streak, I just switch to Even Shaman and just climb a bunch. I'm like, why don't I just play this deck all the time and then I'll play it a little too much, kind of get want to play something else, and then I tank ranks again. But I picked up Even Shaman and I got up to 800 with it. I think I'm at 1100 right now before the recording of the podcast, where I just got my face smashed in by Kingsbane Rogue. But yeah, I'll probably try and make a finish this month with just Even Shaman on Americas. That's pretty much been my week. Nothing too exciting. Just been playing a bunch of Hearthstone. What's your week been like, Bot?
So since I hit Legend, I definitely cooled off a bit on the playing, but still got in a few games. Today I actually played another game with, you guessed it, Murloc Shaman, and queued into another Q block. And this game was not looking particularly good for me. But I had Hagatha going. I got Megafin going, so I was getting a lot of value. And they played Gul'dan, and were kind of stalling out the game, but they had also played a Rin. And then after they played Gul'dan, they kind of just weren't using the hero power and were maintaining around 10 to 15 life. And they weren't really using the hero power, and they rushed out. Oh, what's? Oh man, why? I used to know. I knew the name of this just a second ago. The 10-10 as AZ.
Azari the Devourer.
Yeah, Azari. They were rushing out Azari, and so eventually I had to Volcano, and then played out a War Leader and a Flame Tongue Totem. So all I had is 5 power and board, and they were at 15 life. And they decided that this was a good opportunity to Azari. And so the next turn I played 3 Rockbiter weapons and and the +2/+2 to an elemental, and hit them for 16, and they died. So yeah, if you're
I feel like
playing
whenever
Control Warlock, just against Murloc Shaman, you just use your hero power a lot. If you go up to 30, it's still pretty hard for me to kill you from 30, especially when each one of your hero powers just kills one of my Murlocs.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many games where I'm playing against a Control Warlock, or have been in the past, where I just had no chance in the game, and then they just lost their minds and started just rushing this Azari out. And I'm like, okay, this game's not about Azari, but sure, do that. Spend like 35 mana to make a 10/10. Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I understand it seems like I have an unlimited number of resources, but your hero power is better than basically all of them. So you should probably just get to 30 life, and then maybe you can start looking at, doing some Azari the Devourer type deals. That's probably a better plan than just letting me kill you from 15. Granted, it wasn't very likely, but I could have had even just any buff spell plus a Wind Fury, which you can get off Hagatha, would have been lethal. So, or a host of burn spells. There were a lot of options for me to kill them from that position. So, yeah, don't rush that card when you can kill all of my stuff every turn.
And by rush, you mean skip 2.5 turns.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a very slow rush, and there's sometimes you have to do it right.
Rush out this 10/10. Time walk you twice.
It's basically Temporis, except not
Yeah.
priest. And
Well, that's better then.
I mean, it's different, right? It's Bodicus. It's okay to be who you are. It's okay. It's acceptable. It's your birthday. You can say it. You can own it. It's okay. Blessings to you, Bodicus. Birthday blessings. But also, there's some matchups, right, where you have to Azari quickly. If you're playing against Shutterwalk and you do not have Demonic Project in your deck, you probably have to do it. But
Oh yeah, I had 6 or I think it was 4 or 5 Murlocs in hand and Shutterwalk, and they Demonic Projected my Shutterwalk. I was pissed.
But and also let me make sure I'm clear. When I talk about Shutterwalk Shaman, it's usually the one that kills you infinitely, not the one that makes a bunch of fish. So
Not the one that just has Shutterwalk in there.
It's
just for random Murgle value.
It's so if you don't have Demonic Project in your deck and your opponent's going to use the 9 mana card to infinitely kill you, you probably need to Azari. If they're going to use it to make some 2/2s, you can probably chill and just wait and see what happens.
So I actually just thought of a silly game that I had this week. Now that we were talking about Shutterwalks getting projected. So whenever I was on my tank streak down the ladder ranks, I think I was at like 3800 legend, and I was playing against a bunch of random combo and odd paladin stuff like that. So I was like, Control Warlock could be good. I could just play 2 Gnome Feratus, 2 Demonic Projects, like Rin, just beat control, beat combo. And the first game I played, the only game I played actually with this deck, was against Shutterwalk, where I Gnome Feratu on 2, burned their Shutterwalk, and lost.
Oh man.
After that, I
wait,
said,
wait,
nope,
what?
shelving this one.
Wait, hold on, wait. Say that. What?
And I'll get into
Oh,
the
man.
details. So what happened was, I Gnome Feratu on 2, into his Keleseth on 2, or into their Keleseth on 2, and I burned the Shutterwalk, and then they proceeded to go Mana Tide 1/4, draw Serenite Chain Gang 3/4s, into Life Drinker, Grumble, just had this really nutty like aggro draw with the deck. And then I cleared everything, and then they Hagatha, and I'm like, okay, cool. I got time to stabilize. And then I got chipped down a little bit more, and I think I went to 12. Like I stabilized at 12 after a Gul'dan. And this dude, after like 7 turns of Hagatha, goes Electrostorm Surge and waits, and I'm like, oh no, it's happening. And he goes Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt you. I'm like, oh my god.
It's. And when you say really nutty aggro draw, you're talking about a 3 mana 1/4 that draws you a card as part of that. So
I'm talking about, yes.
You got Silverback
Nutty?
Patriarch draw carded.
I got aggroed from Shutterwalk, and that's an aggressive Shutterwalk draw.
Hey, Bodicus, you're kind of muted, buddy.
It was just Stonehill Defender.
Yeah, it was
that you had to play Keleseth to get the Stonehill Defender.
Yeah, it was
That
it was
was
a
the aggro
build
part.
your own
Aggro part.
Stonehill.
The aggro part was 2 3/4s for 4 and a 4/4 that dealt 3.
Yes.
Those were aggressive.
Yeah.
The 1/4, not so much.
It's
But
a less
it
conditional
deals
Gormok.
more damage than 0. So
It sure does. Which just goes to show that Gnome Feratu sucks.
yeah, I burned that Shutterwalk. I like cheered. I went, yes! And Taylor looked over. She's like, what? I'm like, I got him. I did it. And then I lost that game, and I said, not playing this one ever again.
Yeah. Well, and like, Gnome Feratu is good if you're fighting for card quantity. If you're fighting for card quality, even if you high roll, sometimes you low roll.
Yeah, I had it in the deck to be able to be better against Control Warrior. Because I had Rin in there too, but I mean, if I don't have the upgraded Spellstone, I wanted like a way to fight through fatigue. But that just nabbed a Shutterwalk. I thought I got him. And then JK, I got 13'd.
Yeah.
I didn't make it.
You've been praying for Value Shaman to work. You didn't specify which side you had to be on. Is that a good news segue? Are we newsing?
I think we're newsing.
Hey guys, guess what? BlizzCon's in 2 days.
Woo!
From the
I'm waiting for
recording.
somebody to be listening to that in the car, be like, oh, I guess the audio got turned down, turn it up, and then get blasted with Blizzcon.
It's I'll
Uh,
mark this down to level it out just for our audio listeners so that we don't cause
Yeah.
any accidents.
That's
It's
probably better.
didn't
These
they?
headphones are messing with my ability to control my volume.
I
too,
think
I
we're
feel
fine.
like.
Listen, if they survived Appa's various like cosmic level breakage, then they'll be fine this week. I forget what the last one
So,
was, but it was pretty squealy.
so there's a bunch of stuff happening at BlizzCon. If you are not going to be able to make it there in person, I'm sorry, but you can get a couple sweet rewards just by logging in. If you log in on November 2nd, you will get a free golden star aligner and a golden secret plan. And then if you log in on November 3rd, you get a free pack of Boomsday. So that's pretty sweet just for kind of being on during all the hype of BlizzCon and all of that. And then a couple of the panels that will be happening. What's next for Hearthstone is happening on the 2nd at 2:30. The streamer showdown will be later that day at about 5:45 p.m. The puzzling dungeons. It's kind of a review of the previous single player content that they had over the past year. Kind of going to talk about I'm sure how they felt it went, and now that they're doing single player content with every release, and also kind of talk a little bit about the future of what it has in store for us. That's going to be on November 3rd at 4:30, and then later that day there will be a panel of artists at work where they show you kind of the creative process behind crafting card packs for the latest expansion. As well as HGG will be happening. Um, that should be exciting. Hopefully, we get a chance to catch a little bit of that when we're down there. The final teams in HGG are going to be Brazil, Bulgaria, China, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Norway, Singapore, and Spain. So you can watch that regardless of whether you have the BlizzCon, the virtual ticket or not. That's just going to be on twitch.tv/play Hearthstone, I believe. And then also they have a kind of a cool thing here. They're going to have a streaming setup at BlizzCon. So, and then they have a rotation of kind of, it looks like a bunch of up and coming streamers as well as some very established streamers going on. And we'll have a link in the show notes to if you want to try to catch one of your favorite streamers, see what's going on with them while they are at BlizzCon. That'll be going on all day Friday and Saturday. And then, as well as some things, if you're going to be there, make sure you come find us. I know for me, I will be wearing a Coin Concede shirt. I just got my shipment of Coin Concede shirts from Dad Legend today. So I'll be wearing one of those. You can find one of us, say hi. I want to meet as many listeners as possible. That'd be great. And if you're there, you can also, they have some side events like Duel a Dev, as well as some meet and greets and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know what any comments. What are you guys looking forward to most in regards to Hearthstone for BlizzCon? Which of these topics?
In-N-Out Burger. Also hanging out.
Look, I'm just excited for one In-N-Out burger for sure. I've been craving a good burger. Haven't really had one in a while. 2 tacos because tacos.
Good
And
answer. Good
then,
answer.
I don't know, just walking around and being a gigantic nerd. Like whenever I was at BlizzCon last year, I didn't actually spend that much time in the Hearthstone section because a lot of it was stuff I either already knew or it was like the global games. No, it wasn't global games. It was what was it last
The
year?
Invitational.
The Invitational, which I mean, it was fine. But
Okay,
like,
watching Kranich reverse sweep was awesome.
that was good. I watched that one.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like when I was at BlizzCon last year, I just wanted to go to all the other places that I wasn't as familiar with and just be a giant nerd and just like get, I don't know. So I probably won't actually spend that much time in the Hearthstone place and like probably spend a lot of time the Overwatch arena because that was awesome.
Yeah, when you
Watching
say
the teams
giant
play in
nerd,
there.
you mean like being the tallest person in the Overwatch arena and fangirling for South Korea.
Yes,
It's,
accurate.
you can just say that.
I'm bringing my South Korea jersey.
You wore it last year. Or did you
That's why
buy
I
it
got
last
it.
year?
I bought it last year.
Yeah. Oh yes, don't
some
forget
jerseys
a great
I'm like,
activity of
"Damn."
spending money on Blizzard things.
Yeah,
It-
that's
we
probably what I'm
misplayed.
most excited for, honestly. The shop's pretty cool, and then like picking up the little like badges and like random stuff that vendors are giving out. That's I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we
I'm just
misplayed last year.
excited.
They sold out of the Murloc Kurigamis before we bought one. So this year, I'm just gonna go straight for the store and be like, "Give me every onesie you have."
Yeah, that's gonna be like the first thing I do when I go there and be like, I'm going to the shop, and I'm gonna get all my stuff now, so I don't punt like last year.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing we should do because I want to get a Sylvanas hoodie, and the wife wants all of the pins.
I mean, you'll have to start at the store, and someone says, "Are you going to Hearthstone Global Games?" You can be like, "I have no time for games." But also,
Alright,
the first thing we're
so-
actually going to do is on Thursday, which is not actually
Oh, yeah.
BlizzCon, but is kind of BlizzCon. It's Con Before the Storm. And that's on
That's
Thursday
gonna be
night.
sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So I felt like the biggest idiot in the galaxy yesterday because I finally realized why it was called Con Before the Storm. I didn't realize that was a play on words of Calm Before the Storm
Yeah.
until I think it was Menacing Nimbus said it when it attacked, and I'm like, that's what that's from. And yep, I just felt like a big old dummy. I just never
Yeah.
made the connection before yesterday.
They actually changed the name a couple years ago, though. It used to be called Stuck Up Meat Beep, so I'm glad they made it a little bit more clear. For those unfamiliar with this particular in-joke, and you should really listen to our back catalog and listen to the episode of Tier 5 Appa was on. If your children are not around, do not listen to that with children. Appa believed that Doubling Imp used to say, "Stuck up, meat beep," instead of "Stop copying me," and none of us have any explanation as to why. So I could not resist this amazing opportunity. Thanks for joining this
Please
moment in Needling our
insert
co-host.
the bumper. Please find
Yeah,
Stuck
I'm
at
just
Meat Beep.
I'm just marking
and
this
just
like
insert it.
crazy. I don't know why it's not on my soundboard. It's just a straight up punt. But yeah,
I'm about to listen to it again. 1 second.
Just the finest in audio entertainment right now.
yeah. Well, we can't hear Appa's sounds.
Oh, sad.
I'll edit it in. Don't worry. We're not going to miss this opportunity for content.
Trying to find.
We'll do this later, Appa. I think it's fine. So,
Yeah.
So, yeah, Con Before the Storm, as in Calm Before the Storm, and also like Con Before the BlizzCon. It's complex. There's layers. It's like an onion or an ogre. So, the point here is there's going to be panels for every BlizzCon game run by World of Podcasts. Ro is taking the lead on that, and there's a lot of really great people involved. Chanman is running our panel, which has 8 Hearthstone hosts, one of which is me, and I will be representing Coin Concede, one of 8 podcasts. There's the Angry Chicken, there's Around the Hearth, there's the Happy Hearthstone, and I'm excited for Andrew and Appa to have a tall off. I don't know who's going to win, but we all kind of
I
win.
think I'm gonna lose.
I'm pretty sure you are.
I'm only 6'1". I think Andrew's like 6'3" or 6'4".
I don't.
Who's
I'm.
taller,
n-
Andrew or Rod?
Rod's about my height.
Okay.
I lack perspective on this. They're all very tall. So, anyways, I'm looking forward to the picture where I'm standing between the two of them. And Garrett Weinzierl is going to be there. Chanman from Value Town. Espo from Legends of the Innkeeper. Someone from Hearth Casual. I forget the
Stormrage.
name. Oh, Stormrage from Blizzlet. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And lots of friends of the show are going to be there as well. I know Mage Death is going. Sorotio is going to be there. Tons of people that are hanging out. So really, really excited. Obviously, the community is the best. I already think I have my dinner schedule like completely booked for the weekend, and it's like a week out. So really stoked to see everybody, and really stoked to do the Hearthstone panel. If you are there, please come by, say hello. If you can do a Feral Gibber impression, I will give you a high five. I lack other material rewards for you, but I like Feral Gibber impressions.
He really does.
Do
He
you
makes
not?
all of. No, I like them. They're fine. But you really like them.
Yeah.
Great. So the next news item we had in here is there's now going to be, or they have introduced the Blizzard Esports mobile app. And I feel like I should have asked you guys before the show, but have either of you downloaded this yet? Because this seems really okay. It seems really interesting. It says it doesn't currently include Overwatch League, but what have you opened it up? Have you like poked around with it a bit? Is
Yeah,
it
I poked around in it. I'm
so?
pretty
So what
sure
is it exactly? What do you?
I'm pulling it up right now. It's just okay, it's not connecting to the server. All right. Okay, cool.
Blizzard Esports, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just an app that has like all of their esports and stuff. You can log in with Blizzard, and I'm not going to do that right now because it's going to take too long. But you can kind of like track the games that you watch and keep up with, and then it'll show you like upcoming matches. Like during this weekend for Hearthstone, it had like the current matches for Orange County that were going on, and you could like click on that and it'll show you like stream links and stuff like that. It's just one place to be up to date with everything that's going on, which is kind of cool because like if I wanted to watch like Overwatch or Hearthstone, like I wasn't too involved like in those scenes, or like if I wanted to like get nostalgic and watch StarCraft 2 or something, I wouldn't want to have to like go like research when tournaments are and stuff, where I could just go to the app and like find out when the next like event is that I can watch. So it's cool to have all this stuff in one place.
Yeah, that actually seems super useful if you're trying to find out when there's a major tournament or when you can watch some of your favorite games, some competitive aspects. So I will be downloading this as well, probably right after the show, just because
Yeah.
seems like it's just very useful.
I like that specifically when it starts as well, it asks you, do you want to show scores or hide scores for spoilers? That's the first question it asks. So I really like that. You can get access to them conveniently, but on your own timetable.
Nice. So the last little item we had here is also somewhat related to BlizzCon. Obviously, being so close to it, we have a lot of news related to it. Is that we're coming up on your last chance to redeem rewards for the HGG Cheering. So, for those of you who don't remember this, the Blizzard has been putting on a promotion where if you cheer on the Play Hearthstone channel during, say, an HGG match, part of the proceeds go to the teams, and you can get cool special prizes. So they actually have a lot of rewards for not a whole ton of cheer. For if you cheer 2,200 bits, you can get the following: exclusive card back, and 30 card packs, and an all golden classic pack, as well as some Twitch emotes. You will also get here's the breakdown of packs, I guess. 14 classic packs, 4 Boomsday packs, 6 Witchwood packs, 2 Kobolds, 2 Frozen Throne, 2 Ungoro, and then the 4 Twitch emote bundle. Just by cheering 2,200 bits, which is kind of a killer deal. So if you have some bits on Twitch, I suggest doing that before the promotion ends, which I assume is going to end after HGG ends. So yeah, check that out. I'm gonna my co-hosts have already said they're gonna remind me after this is over to go do that, because I mean you're just not gonna get that kind of deal anytime else during the year.
Yeah, so whenever HGG Cheer was announced, I didn't realize that you got the card backs with it. I thought you were just doing it to like support the teams and like get emotes, and I didn't think it was worth it. And then I saw the golden cart or the golden pack thing earlier on Twitter, and I was like, ooh, I'm a sucker for golden cards. Tell me more. And then I saw like all the other packs you can get for 2,200 bits. And I think that's $28. Gets you like 30 packs in the all golden pack, and I'm like, I'm snapping this one off. Absolutely. Didn't realize we got packs here. So yeah, it's a really, really good deal.
Please be aware that to get these prizes, you go to the Hearthstone Twitch channel, twitch.tv/playhearthstone. If you don't click redeem all, even if you cheer, you don't get the stuff. So you have to cheer right now. If you cheer 2,200 bits from 0, that gets you everything, which is 31 card packs, including a golden classic pack. But you have to cheer, and then you have to go to the page and click redeem all. If you do that, you get your stuff. If you don't do that, no stuff. Please get your stuff.
Yep, and that's pretty much all the news for this week. I think we're all just really excited for BlizzCon to be here already.
Yay! 2 days.
Woo.
Hopefully, it is more
So-
exciting than your birthday, where you did not even get a cake.
It will be, because I'll get to see you guys.
I'll buy you a cake, Botticus.
Very exciting. I don't like cake, so
But
I'll buy you a burger and call it a cake.
that I can get behind that. As long as it has bacon, which means we have to go somewhere that's not In-N-Out Burger.
I mean, we can be equal opportunity burger employers, but we're starting it in. So Botticus is being very nice and is picking me up from the airport, and I messaged him and said, we're stopping for In-N-Out in a way to calm before the storm, right? And he says, I know how this shit goes down. That was his
I already
response to
know.
me.
My opinion is that I am not the biggest fan of In-N-Out, but I know it brings great joy to Hat. So if I can bring great joy to Hat by taking him to an In-N-Out, I am happy to do so.
Yeah, I will be wearing my In-N-Out hat to In-N-Out. And they'll be like, welcome home, and I'm not going to correct them. I'm not from California.
Hat will be, you'll be wearing your In-N-Out hat in an In-N-Out as hat.
Yes, there are layers.
Trust
Just
me,
like on a burger.
they'll know you're a tourist.
How? Wait, what does that mean? How will they know?
Because you're wearing an In-N-Out hat.
Yeah.
But I am not an In-N-Out tourist. I am an In-N-Out face. All right. We're gonna save this for later. This is coming later. Let's play the
Table this for now.
let's play the bumper.
It's the grand tournament.
Calling me an In-N-Out tourist. You don't even know In-N-Out tourist. All right, so tournament section, I guess. We're gonna talk about HCT Orange County. And HCT Orange County was this past weekend. It is notably the first tournament after the card nerfs. Rest in peace, Manaworm. We hardly knew ye. And Giggling Inventor.
Rest in not peace. Rest in agony. I hate that card. Get it out of here.
It was a part of the game.
It's already out of here. So
It made you who you were. So, those of you listeners, you weren't around when Appa was complaining about Valera because he was tired of Ice Block being in Standard. This is the man who said, 3 mana pops whenever you're about to die. 9 mana right now, still too good. Get that out of here. So I think there might be an inherent mage bias.
I wasn't saying it was too good, was I? I don't think I was. I just didn't like
the,
how it made
the
me
term
feel.
the term you
And it was
used
angry.
rhymed with bull pit. So you draw conclusions however you wish to.
Look,
But that card was total
they were
bull
playing
pits.
Kingsbane Rogue. They had
Okay.
already got my feathers ruffled.
I'm aware of how ruffled. We are not the angry chicken. We can't do that. It's trademarked. So, anyways, HCT Orange County. This top 16 was loaded with talent. First post-nerf tournament. Feno won the tournament over Casie, Impact and Swidge, 3rd and 4th, Mega Man Music, Hunter Race, Monsanto, and Muzzy, the top 8. Lee, Boston, Amnesiac, Rosty, Nolan, PNC, Purple, and So Legit top 16. The only name I don't know there is Mega Man Music. All the rest are known competitors. Super consistent. I actually wanted to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to read just the finishes so far this year, this HCT year, from just Feno and Casie. Feno so far this year. Top 8 HCT Germany, top 16 HCT Oslo in January, top 8 HCT Spring, top 16 at HCT Tours, top 4 at HCT Austin, top 16 at HCT Oakland, top 16 at Seat Story, second place at HCT Montreal, top 16 at the second HCT Oslo, and first place at HCT OC. That's one player. Casie, top 16 HCT Bangkok, top 16 HCT Tours, top 16 HCT DreamHack Summer, top 4 Hearthstone Nationals, top 16 HCT Italy, top 4 HCT Germany, second in Seat Story, top 16 HCT Taichung, top 8 HCT Germany, top 4 HCT Singapore, and second in HCT OC. That's just 2 players. all those finishes. Impact had 2 top 4s, 1 top 8, 1 top 16. Swids had a silver medal, 6 top 4s, 3 top 8s, 3 top 16s. Hunter Race, just to do 1 player in the top 8, not even the top 4. 6 gold medals, 2 silver medals, 2 top 4s, 2 top 8s, 3 top 16s. Muzzy, Monsanto, the list goes on. However you feel about Hearthstone right now, the tournament meta is currently highly reflective in terms of results of the players with known and proven skill and performance. So what do you two think about this before I dive any further?
So I'm gonna say a couple things. First one is that I think this is probably one of the most skill-intensive formats we've had in a long time, because the games do feel so samey. They're all very very similar to each other in many ways. I mean, things differ from game to game, but overall, like, plans are consistent enough that they'll happen in a large majority of games, and that favors people who are very tight technical players and are good at game planning and all that kinds of stuff. So it's really nice to see this level of consistency from all these players. And the next thing I want to say is a little more abrasive, but I feel like I see this on Twitter just like all the time. And that's if you complain about Hearthstone being a game, but that's just all RNG, you just don't know what you're talking about. It's not. It's so difficult. It's so complex. Like, if you think somebody's mastered Hearthstone, or if somebody tells you that they've mastered Hearthstone, they're full of it. They just don't know what they're talking about. It's so much harder than anybody listening to this right now. It's harder than you think it is. And it is a very deep game, and the best players win because they're just clearly the best.
Yeah, and I think the RNG concerns have definitely gone down a little bit, but where I see the skill in this particular meta is not just the gameplay, but the lineup selection. And I think that's something that really hasn't mattered as much in previous formats. There were a lot of formats in the past that were just best deck formats. This is not one of them. And even though you'll see a lot of homogeny in the archetypes that are in the tournament meta for this first post-nerf tournament, you'll see a lot of different ways that they were executed, and the players in the top 8 all had very different strategies, not to mention that you will see changes in how the games play out and how the lineups are constructed even just a week or 2 weeks from now. And when we look into the tournament meta, unless Bodicus, you have anything to add? No.
Nope, not really. I was saying earlier, clearly a luck-based game, all RNG
Yes.
involved.
So, the tournament meta here, these were definitely safer choices in a new undefined metagame. There were 16 druids, 11 Malygos druids, 5 token druids, 12 hunters, they were all cube hunters. Warlock was the most diverse, 5 even warlocks, 2 zoos, 2 cubes. Shaman was the number 4 represented class, 7 shutterwalks, 2 even shamans. 8 rogues, all odd, 7 paladins, all odd, 1 warrior, Swids control, it was weird. 1 priest, it was dragon combo, and 1 mage. Oh, Monsanto, he brought Book of Specters, Murloc, Mage. Yes. So, it's not surprising that Druid is the most popular card. It was the only class that had 16 of 16 players bringing it. The most popular rare was Mind Control Tech. Unfortunately, the most popular legendaries are Keleseth, Lich King, and Leroy. And there's lots of opportunity for evolution here. The ladder doesn't currently reflect this meta, and in particular, Big Spell Mage is doing very well in the ladder right now and is not represented at all in this tournament, and is probably the biggest winner of this round of nerf, so expect to see that at a lineup near you. Now, the winning lineup was Token Druid, Cube Hunter, Odd Paladin, Cube Lock, and second place was Mali Druid, Cube Hunter, Shutterwalk, Even Lock. Now, Cube Hunter is kind of the runaway early big success of the format, so it's not surprising that both players have that in common. It's the only deck both players have in common. The only one. Token Druid, Odd Paladin, Cube Lock versus Mali Druid, Shutterwalk, Even Lock could not be more different in terms of strategy. So, again, there's a lot going on here. And we do actually have a game to watch. And boy, is this a game to watch. Okay, so Feno is playing Cube Hunter. Casie is playing Shutterwalk Shaman. Feno has a slow start, but he does get an egg on 3. Now, Casie he's going first. He has a Keleseth on 3. Turn 4, Manatide Totem, Urshock your egg. Kill it with the Keleseth. Pretty brutal. Shaw comes down an empty board on turn 4. gets bumped into by the Keleseth, but there's no way to kill it, so 4/4 Life Drinker. That means that Feno goes attack with my Shaw to kill your totem, cube it, coin, play dead it. Now I got 2 more Shaws, and my cube is just going to bump in. Clear your board. Next turn, Chain Gang comes down, 3/4. I don't care, because I'm a Terrascale Stalker. And then I'm going to trade in my cube, and I have 6 Houndmaster Shaws. How about that? Now, it seems like the board's never getting cleared. But oh wait, Casie draws a 4/4 Mind Control tech. And I think the chances are pretty good of him hitting a Shaw. It's about 1 in 6 to hit a Shaw 6 times. So he gets a Shaw. And then trades in Mind Control tech, kills the weakest Shaw, and he has a 3/3 Life Drinker as well. He gets Flanking Struck back, 4 Shaws rumble in, go to the face, but Casey's up to 8 mana. How about Hagatha? That kills one of the Shaws. There's only 3 3/3 Shaws left. Casey's only down to 9 life in the following turn. Katharina comes down on turn 8 to get a high main. Feno's not on Devilsaur. No more pressure. But the board is Shaw, 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 Katharina, high main. But, even though Casey's on 9, he has a Shutterwalk. Play Shutterwalk. MCT triggers. Takes the Katharina. Keleseth triggers. 2 Life Drinkers trigger. Bring him back up to 15. Serenite triggers, and Hagatha trigger. Hagatha away everything except the high main. By the way, the Hagatha triggers gets a zap to kill the high main after it gets Hagatha'd. Gain 6 life. And now Casey's ahead. Just suddenly ahead. There's a King Crush in hand for Feno. He has to play it as removal on the 7/4 Shutterwalk. Or the 7/6, yeah, the 7/4 Shutterwalk. He has to play King Crush as removal. Because the 2 Life Drinkers mean it's not lethal anymore. And Casie has 2 Healing Rains in hand. And then Farsight comes down for Casie, gets Zola for a second Katharina, and Earth Shocks the Crush, and Healing Rains back up, and Feno has to play double Grizzly just to not die. And 2 3/7 Grizzlies are no match for Hex into Forked Lightning. Forked Lightning. And hit and clear the board, bring Feno down to 8. Feno draws Zilliax into Defender of Argus just for 1 extra point, so the Zilliax clears the Katharina, and there's no beasts left in the deck because both Life Drinkers were played. No beasts. So Katharina doesn't get anything, gains 4 life. Casie decides no more life gain. Let's do 2 Mana Volcano, Manatide Totem. Manatide Totem triggers a Totemic Might, it's a 2/7. And then Feno top decks Rexar, and starts to beast tap. So Katharina comes down for the Shaman, by the way. That's a Shaman Katharina. It's a golden Shaman Katharina. Comes down, gives a Lava Burst, foreshadowing. Now it gets Hunter's Marked, and killed the following turn. And then that Beast Tap gives Feno a 5/11 taunt. Oh wait, Casie top decks a Hex. Hex it, Lightning Storm, attack for 2 with my Manatide Totem. And by the way, Casey's Manatide at the end of turn, Electra Storm Search. Build your own Pyroblast. Now, Feno beast taps again. Rexar gives Direwolf and Hunting Mastiff, so they get mashed together. Clear the board. So Casie goes Glacial Shard your thing. Grumble it. Here's a 9/9 Grumble. Glacial Shard again. So Feno cubes the remaining Direwolf and Mastiff and play deads it to kill the Grumble. So Casie, of course, Earth and Might's the 1 remaining Glacial Shard, attacks in, and then goes Electro Lava Burst. Why wouldn't he? And that's the game, and how Casie ended the story with 6 mana, you take 10 now. What? Shaman's great.
Hagatha's great.
Yeah, she
Hagatha
is.
is so great.
Yeah. The Frodan and Admirable were casting this game. It was suitably hilarious. Would strongly recommend watching it. I enjoyed watching it. It was a tale of 2 board states. And Mind Control Tech is a messed up card. And it's not okay, but this game was fun. So, coming soon, BlizzCon, got the HGG finals this weekend. Who are you all rooting for?
Who do I know in the teams?
You are
That's
probably not
adorable.
rooting for Taiwan, given recent history.
Nope,
Probably not.
that ain't the one.
So, let's see, 2018. So, we've got Here are the 8 teams. Hong Kong, which is Blitzchung, Kin 0531, Loosefield and Shy. New Zealand, Jack Attack Mage, Pathra Ting Tong. Norway, which is Hunter Ace, Colbane, NTR Zorkthar. China, which is
That
Leah.
one. The one with Hunter Ace.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
So there's China, there's
Say no
Brazil,
more.
there's
Leave it.
Taiwan, and there's Spain. I am rooting for Spain. I think that Aka Wonder, Dalasam, Riku, and Jacob O have played really, really well so far. They played super well in the Swiss, and I am rooting for them. I am very happy with their success so far. They went undefeated out of the top 16 group stage. They were 4-2 in the Swiss. Started off 3-0. So I am very impressed with Spain so far, and I will be rooting for them. But yes, the team with Hunter Ace is the easy pick. So yes, go Hunter Ace and Colbane and NTR and Zorkthar. And also for me, go Aka Wonder, Dalasam, Jacob O, and Riku. And that's the tournament section. And now it's time to talk about Shaman even more with some Decksplanations.
Did you bring some fish?
Well, yes. I did bring some fish. They're called Merkspark eels. And they zap your opponent for 2. Goes zip, zip, zap. I don't actually know what noise they make.
Hey, Appa, what card's better, Totem Golem or Merkspark Eel?
All right. So background on this one. We're gonna talk about this one for a hot second. So Team Genji on Twitter usually posts little polls between 2 cards. One is one that's seen playing standard right now, and one is like a card from the past. It's like a nostalgia battle, pretty much. The last poll they ran was Bittertide Hydra versus Fel Reaver, and people voted Bittertide Hydra was better. But today's that they posted was Merkspark Eel versus Totem Golem, and I slammed on the Totem Golem option on the poll, and to my surprise, only 87% of people voted for it. So I replied with a comment. I said 13% of people have lost their minds and do not think 2-mana Spider Tank is better than Eel. And and then somebody responded to me with, and some people just know how stupid the Eel is. And I'm just like, what? These aren't even these aren't comparable. Like, not even close.
Well, the
So,
other reply to you was, you mean 0 mana getting it from Tuskar.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying before the cast, even if Merkspark Eel did not require your deck to have only even cards, I still don't think it would be better than Totem Golem. And that's a pretty big drawback. I mean, Merkspark Eel would just be a card you would put in every Shaman deck ever for as long as it was legal, and it still would not be better than Totem Golem if you didn't have to play with only even cards.
I mean,
there
which
are
was
a
better?
lot-
Which was better, Totem Golem or Medivh Valet? Like, Medivh Valet was great. It was a fantastic card. The entire time it was in Standard, you played that and Arcanologist and Ice Block. Not even close to 2 mana 3/4.
Yeah, there's a lot of matchups where I'll run out a Merkspark Eel, and it'll just be not very good. But if I had a Totem Golem, it's good against aggro. It eats their board, like on turn 2 and 3. And then it also just hits for 3 against, like, slower decks. But yeah, so that's why Bodicus was needling me about that, because I was venting about that before the podcast.
Oh, I messed up. I opened up this Twitter stream, and now I'm just angry. Because the votes between Piloted Shredder and Flanking Strike was not just all Piloted Shredder. 90 people voted for Flanking Strike. And like, listen, Flanking Strike, good card. Really good card. Not Piloted Shredder. That it's not not the 4-drop that was so good that you couldn't play other 4-drops. So, yeah, we're gonna sound like the back in my day people, so I'm gonna stop scrolling through this, but folks,
yeah, you're just gonna make yourself confused and upset.
That's kind of a state of life, state of being. Yeah. Why don't you do the explanations before I go off the rails?
All right. Anyways, getting into more Shaman a little bit. We got a Shaman sub theme here. When do we not? It's Coin Concede. So Decksplanations this week is figuring out how to build your own deck for competitive play. And that kind of brings up the question, are we talking about building something for scratch or tuning a popular archetype? Hat's still scrolling. Which one won between
Okay,
Chain
okay.
Gang and Imp Gang
Chain
Boss?
Gang won over Imp Gang Boss. Oh my god.
Incorrect to literally everyone who voted for that.
I'm closing this window. I can't. It's. Oof. Oof.
All right. So, yeah, we're going to talk about both approaches. One, building a deck from scratch, and two, like tuning a popular archetype to like be your own personalized list. And I think the first step for both of these is just figuring out what you're trying to beat. And this can be applicable to ladder in terms of trying to beat like a really popular deck or a few really popular decks. But it can be most easily applied to tournament play because you have a ban in those formats where you can ban away unfavored matchups and look to either target good matchups in Conquest or look to bring a deck that has a solid counter queue in last year's standing or is just solid across the board. But after you figure out what you want to beat, like in the abstract, you need to figure out what gets you there. And that means like finding good tech cards to get you to be better in matchups. Think of like Eater of Secrets, Hunger Crab, Big Game Hunter against decks with Mountain Giant, stuff like that. Or it can be finding just a general plan to play with. Like if you're looking to target just aggro like blanketly, then you may want to bring like an AoE heavy deck to beat aggro, like a sticky mid range deck to beat control, like bring a combo deck to beat slower decks, that kind of stuff. And this can be useful in deck building and tuning, but it's a lot easier to just tune a popular archetype than come up with something from scratch. And I think the first steps, or like the steps you really take when tuning something, is you just take a stock list from like Hearthstone top decks or like HS Replay or Vicious Indicator, wherever you get your deck list from. You just take a popular version of it, play with it enough to where you feel comfortable with it, and then like really try and understand the matchups. Like go through different uh, matchup matrices and figure out what your good and bad matchups are, and then play on ladder as well, and try and get as much practice in against what you expect to play as possible. And figure out why bad matchups are bad, why good matchups are good, and really just try and understand that deck like inside and out. And then from there, once like since you know what you want to try and beat in the tournament, you can find tech cards that help you like either situationally or just generally. And so say we're trying to target Odd Paladin in Conquest, and we really want to bring Even Shaman because it's a solid deck across the board, but we need to shore up its matchup against Odd Paladin a little bit because the matchup's okay, but you're still a little unfavored because they can control the board a little bit better. You don't have great AoE early on. So if you're planning on playing against a bunch of Odd Paladin, leaving that up and banning something else where maybe you don't need value as much in, or you're hoping to play against lineups where you don't need value generation as much, you could cut something like a Murmuring Elemental for a Beakered Lightning. And just that small of a change can make a huge difference in terms of tournament performance. If you just take out like one of the weakest cards for the game plan you're trying to make that deck have, and make room for a tech card that can really swing a matchup. Because in the Odd Paladin matchup, as Even Shaman, Murmuring Elemental is usually just a 2/2. It'll generate you a minion later on, but that's not really what wins you the game. What wins you the game is just clearing the board over and over again. So if you just take out the kind of clunky 2/2 for a Beaker Lightning, that's just improving your chances against the aggressive decks there. And then another example would be like if we're playing Even Warlock and we expect to play against a lot of combo, the deck's already pretty okay against combo. Decks like Shutterwalk, Togwoggle, and Malagos Druid, Mechathune decks. But if you're expecting a lot of it, you can't really rely on just having fast Mountain Giant and Twilight Drake starts to like just beat them down before then. You probably want to bring like Demonic Projects in the deck because it has room for it. You can take out some anti-aggro stuff, if you're not planning on playing against a lot of aggro, or if you're really trying to target combo decks, then you can take out, say, a plated beetle and something else for 2 demonic projects. And it sounds simple, like how I'm describing it right now, but this is really all tuning is like figuring out what you want to beat, and then figuring out the best way to do it where you keep the deck's plan intact, but you increase your win percentage against specifically what you're expecting or planning on facing. And then I didn't go too much into building a deck from scratch because I kind of just have some generalized advice on it. And I think when you're trying to build a deck from scratch, you really, really have to understand how a class works in that given metagame to make a successful deck, like for ladder or tournaments. Like, for instance, if I was playing in a tournament tomorrow, I probably wouldn't play even Shaman. I would, if I was expecting a lot of control, where Shutterwalk would be good, I would just bring Shutterwalk. But if I wasn't expecting a lot of control and I was looking to play like target aggro, I would actually bring my own mid-range elemental shaman deck. It's because I know the matchups for it. It has a surprise factor, which is a big deal. That's actually a bigger deal than people give it credit for. Like, if you haven't played against a deck, you're not going to have the reps for it. A lot of players can be kind of sloppy fundamentally, like in terms of their technical play, but they've just gotten in so many reps against the matchup that they know just how to play those frontwards and backwards. And if you bring a surprise deck, like a good deck that's off meta, people will make mistakes against it. They won't really know the lines of play that you're going to take. It's going to be a lot more difficult for them to figure out what's going on in each like different turn of the game and react accordingly. And so it would have that surprise factor to it. And then it does a much better job of beating odd paladin and odd rogue, which I kind of want to be targeting in Conquest right now. And this is just because of the different cards that I have in the list. But the only reason I would feel comfortable bringing my own shaman deck is I really understand the class just inside and out. And I think if you don't feel super, super comfortable with the class, or you haven't had a lot of practice with your own deck, like at high ranks, or I guess at ranks kind of similar to players of the event you're planning on playing in, then I don't think you should try and like build your own deck if you're looking for like the best win rate and like winning the tournament's your goal. If you're just doing it for fun, then like go ahead. But that's kind of all I have for building decks. I know we can elaborate on a little more. I just kind of wanted to put an outline together as a kind of jumping off point for the conversation. So what do y'all think?
Yeah, it's building one's own deck, I think, is a very challenging skill that has a lot of rewards, but this has been something that I know that you really like crafting a strategy from crafting a deck from a strategy. I am very big on hoarding decklists and assimilating known strategies, but I've always been more hesitant to craft my own, which is why I asked kind of for this Decksplanations. And I've always found that the players that are good deck builders usually are a little bit better at thinking on their feet in the game. Because when you build a deck, you're saying, I want to do this thing. And then you kind of build it together. It's the difference between cooking from somebody else's recipe and being a chef, right? Knowing what each piece does, knowing what each flavor does, what each card does, is very different than getting a finished dish and working backwards, or getting a finished deck and working backwards. What you're doing as a deck builder is envisioning how a deck will play out, connecting it with the game, playing it, seeing what happens, and going back and learning how the different parts of your strategy come together. And as a deck builder, you can kind of envision, when I make the deck this way, this thing happens. As opposed to, when I get this deck with these cards in it, you have to work a little bit harder to understand the master plan. And even then, it's something that's given to you, not something that you create. So, I've never been all that great at crafting decks from scratch, except for, Sequential Taunt Warrior, but that one was kind of built itself. Really, where I think the ability for any player to improve their game is, if you're not sure what to do next, build a deck of your own. Find a strategy that you think works. Build a deck of your own and see what happens. We are in a metagame that is very polarized and somewhat stable, somewhat stale. But that means that players are used to seeing the same things over and over again. Give them something different. Give people a chance to misplay because they don't know what you're going to do next. Because if players are building their decks based on knowing what's going to happen the next turn, and you do something someone hasn't seen, they don't know what they're going to do either. And you have a lot of opportunity for success there.
Yeah, speaking of stuff that people haven't seen a lot, I was kind of my input for the section is not quite as great as Appa, because I know Appa is much better at kind of building the decks from scratch. But I do a lot of when I do a lot of my deck building, it's more tuning, and I think the best piece of advice I could give to somebody who's looking to build a deck after is getting some experience with decks that other people have built to find what is a powerful deck, so that when you go in to building something completely different, you can get a feel for how powerful it is. So like when I built this Murloc Shaman deck that's had some success. I wouldn't call it a great amount of success, but it has been working for me. When I looked at it initially, it's pretty easy for somebody to just say, "Oh, well, you just type Murloc into the search engine and put everything in your deck that says Murloc on it, and you have Murloc Shaman." But realistically, when I look through the deck and kind of think about why some of the cards are working, you see that currently there are 14 Murlocs in standard. 2 of them are Paladin cards, and a lot of them made the cut, but some of them specifically didn't. For instance, Grimscale Oracle have seen in quite a few Shaman lists, and you would think that would be a pretty solid one because it kind of buffs your other Murlocs to help trades better and is a 1-mana one, so you can kind of get it out faster, but it's not really doing kind of what the deck ends up doing when it plays out. So when I got a feel for playing it against the more controlling decks, I realized that as the game was going on, my hand was just constantly full of cards. I just constantly had Murlocs every turn. I could play a bunch of them. And so when you kind of look at how the deck is constructed, a lot of it is based on making sure you have a constant stream of Murlocs going so that you can almost always complete the quest on turn 7, specifically complete and play the quest on turn quest reward Megafin on turn 7. And it's just kind of, as I got to play with it more, I realized what place all of the different Murlocs had in the deck that made it actually function. And I think that's something you can take when you kind of just have an idea, because essentially this deck came to me from an idea I heard Hat talk about, I don't know, months ago when he was playing Murwalk, and so I kind of
Oh
threw
yeah, that was Hockey
together
Boy's
my
deck. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of just threw together my version of it and picked and chose the Murlocs that I felt were solid. And when you kind of look how they're synergizing together, it makes sense why they're actually able to win games in reasonably high legend. Well, not high legend, but in legend. Like, and it's doing well. It's doing well for a couple of us. So yeah, just when you're trying to build a deck from scratch, it's going to be a lot of trial and error. um I really did not, when I built the deck, I didn't expect to get a lot of wins with it, and then they just kind of happened. And then I could kind of piece together why it was happening, and then I can make adjustments from there if I need to make them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my deck building gets done within the shaman class, so I'm sorry if we're kind of just talking about shaman too much, but that's just where I feel comfortable and where I feel like I have not like authority, but like a reasonable amount of experience, like backing my opinions. And say like we take this elemental shaman deck that I have. I should probably pull up the list, huh? And just read it out for people who are listening. We can edit this in a second. I gotta pull this up on Google Drive. Where are you at? Damn it, I can't find it. No. All right, we'll just do it live. All right. Anyways, so this elemental shaman deck that I have, it's like fireflies, flame tongue totem, murmuring elemental. We have electrostorm surge for some value. We have manatide totems, lightning storms. I have a copy of Storm Chaser because I have 2 volcanoes and a bloodlust. I have fire elementals. I have a Blaze Caller, I believe, and then Alakir and Kalamos, and then some other kind of stuff thrown in. But the point of the deck was I was having a little trouble against Odd Rogue with Even Shaman, and I really liked the value that like Hagatha and Murmuring Elemental brought in the late game versus the slower decks. And I also liked I've Thunderhead in there too. That's right. Thunderhead zaps the weapon. And I like the value that those brought. But I was also having a little bit of trouble like kind of winning back a board that I had lost versus Odd Paladin or Odd Rogue. So I kind of just thought like I could play Beaker Lightning and have a dead card some of the times in other matchups, or I could just take what's good about Even Shaman, which is like ticking up the curve with strong threats, which I can do in this deck because I just have a really nice elemental package that you can just curve out of and top out with Kalamos, Alakir, that kind of stuff. But it also has things like Lightning Storm against Odd Paladin, and even to clean up like Token Druid boards or Spreading Plague Scarabs. And I think the main draw for this deck is actually to play Volcano. And it's weird to say you want to play Volcano in a deck that wants to curve out, but I actually got inspiration from this from Muzzy's Jade Shaman deck from forever ago. It played Volcano in it. It was a mid-range deck, and I wanted to be proactive, but you just have to accept the fact that the aggro decks are going to do what they're designed to do a majority of the time, and that is win the board early. Because I mean, they're all so consistent. They do what they do really, really quickly and really efficiently and frequently. So you're just going to lose the board sometimes. So I put Volcano in there, and that actually just completely changed how these matchups played against the rogues, especially because while playing Even Shaman, I would be relying on my hero power and like smaller minions like Direwolf, Flame Tongue Totem, Merkspark, Eel. Whereas now I can kind of concede the early board and just turn 5 Volcano. They'll have expended a lot of resources into it, and then we can start fighting a value game where I'm going to come out on top like almost every time. So that was kind of the experience that I had that brought me towards building this deck was okay, my matchup against Odd Rogue and Odd Paladin aren't exactly what I want them to be. So what can I do to make that better? And the answer was actually cut Gen, put an AoE. And you're still kind of playing a similar game to Even Shaman, but it's very different how the matchups play out because of like some changes that I made basically. I took like the theory of Even Shaman, but like put my own spin on it and built something from scratch. And I've been tuning it for a while. I don't think it's my build's optimal right now, but I do think it has a lot of potential. And I would play it more, but I'd rather play something more refined, like Even Shaman on the last 2 days of ladder. So I'm gonna stick with Even Shaman for now. But I mean, I think the deck's good, but that's kind of just my approach. And I had another instance where I actually built a pretty reasonable Control Warrior deck, which I was surprised. Fibonacci had posted on Twitter probably like a month or so ago. He was looking for like Dead Man's Hand warrior builds, and I'd posted mine, and I got the Fibonacci stamp of approval. He said it looked like a good list. But that one was no Baku. It was all just I had Shield Slam, Execute. I had Weapons Project actually, Harrison Jones, and Dead Man's Hand. The reason behind those was basically the reason behind not playing Baku was I wanted to beat Token Druid more consistently with Warpaths in it and Blood Razor, and I also wanted to just never fatigue against Odd Warrior or stuff like that, so I was playing Dead Man's Hand. And from there, I kind of knew that I wanted to play Warpath, knew that I wanted to play Dead Man's Hand. So from there, I get to play like Blood Razor, all that kind of good stuff. And then I had to kind of figure out, how am I better against Malagos Druid than Odd Warrior, or how can I help my matchup there? And the answer that I found was like Harrison Jones and Weapons Project, because that gains you some light, or gains you some armor with Weapons Project plus Harrison, but it also gives you a bunch of answers to Twig, which is one of like the biggest problems as a control deck against Malagos Druid or Togwoggle, is to not have an answer for the Twig. But um, that's kind of how I approach deck building. Is like I figure out what problems I'm having with a specific archetype, and then figure out what solves those problems. Like as Odd Warrior versus Token Druid, I was playing against a lot of Whispering Woods and Soul of the Forest turns that I could not clear. I really wanted access to Warpath, so that led me away from Odd Warrior, but into a really solid Control Warrior list that I liked a lot. And same thing goes for Even Shaman. It's like, what problems am I having with Even Shaman? Okay, so let's take this shell, but add solid AoE, so that takes out the Gin. We get a little bit more flexibility on what we can play. We have a little less early game consistency, but our tools are there to beat the matchups we want to beat, and we can do it much more consistently. So I think, I'm not sure if that's how other people approach deck building, but I know in Magic, people talk about deck building very similarly, and that's kind of where I picked up some stuff from, where people like Jerry Thompson, who's a really well-known deck builder and deck tuner in Magic. And I mean, growing up, like learning Magic and playing Magic, I listened to him a lot. So I think that rubbed off on me a lot. So that's kind of how I approach it. Just figure out what the problem is, and then figure out the best way to tackle that problem. And you don't even have to stick like within the same archetype. You can just go to a separate archetype and figure out something from there. It's just finding good solutions to the problem.
Also, finding out if the problem is worth finding a solution for. I think a lot of times you can get caught up in saying, oh, well, I need to add these 2 to 4 cards to this deck so that I can beat this matchup. And it might just not be worth adding those 4 cards because it makes all your other matchups, or the
Yeah,
answer to
that's
make the matchup better is just not worth including in the deck.
yeah, that's actually a really good point, because before the Giggling Inventor Manowyrm patch, Mozzie Horror was an even shaman a lot of the time. It would kill your totem sometimes, but it would also kill Giggling, and then it was really good against Spreading Plague. And in the even shaman deck I'm playing right now, it's a little weaker to Spreading Plague because it's running Thunderheads and Primal Fin Totems. So you spawn a lot more junky 1/1s for Scarabs. And I had the Mossy Horror in there for a few days, and I was playing with it, and I was always disappointed with it. But it was always just the nuts against Druid. It was so good against Spreading Plague. But the problem was, in every other matchup, it didn't have good targets anymore. It was okay against Zoo, but a lot of the time they would kill a Seth, and then your Mossy Horror was just dead. It was just 2/7. And then I never wanted it against Death Rattle Hunter, which is one of your good matchups, and you don't want like a card in there making it to where you just can't play it in the matchup, and you can't really against Egg Hunter. And in just a bunch of matchups, it was just really clunky without giggling. So like, even though I know the card's really, really good against Druid, and I want to beat Druid with a deck, I'm not going to make all my other matchups worse. So I just took it out. I put something else. I think I put a Fire Plume Phoenix in, and that card's just been way better, just overall. Like, I lose percentage against Druid, but I understand that I'm going to do that. The matchups there aren't that bad anyways, and having this one just trump card for Spreading Plague isn't worth having it be a semi-dead draw in like most other matchups. So it's important to not get tunneled on a problem if it's a problem that's not worth like committing to beating. Like Spreading Plague, probably not worth committing to beating it unless you're playing Odd Paladin or Odd Rogue. Then you have to have Void Rippers, or you're just cold the Plague.
Yeah, I
But
was thinking that's a great example as well. Eater of Secrets, I think, was also just a card that was a prime example of a card that sometimes you would have to think about including in the right metagame, but a lot of times just wasn't worth the inclusion because it kind of made your deck so much worse.
It saw play once ever consistently as part of the meta, and that was in Ngoro, when Mage was on top of its game, and the burn Mage mirror was decided by Eater of Secrets, and if not, then it was whoever went 7, 8, 9 first. Because people would go, usually, what was the crazy 7 drop? It wasn't Firelands Portal. It was,
That was one of them.
It was one of
Right.
them. There was a really good 7. Really, really good one. Because Medivh was the 8 and Alexstrasza was the 9. Ngoro. Now I'm blanking. Or was it 8, 9, 10?
Are you sure it's not Firelands?
Or no, it was 8, 9, 10 is what I'm thinking of. When you went Medivh into Alexstrasza into Pyroblast. Whoever got to do that first almost always won. Unless you had Eater of Secrets, and then you just got to win. And so that was included in a lot of builds of Burn Mage, of Ngoro Burn Mage. That was a pretty common inclusion. But if you put that in a deck that does not deal high amounts of burst damage, and you're planning on whittling the opponent down, like, they get to call the shots anyways. You usually don't want to include that, and it didn't see play most of the time it was in Standard. So I think that's a great example. I think other experiments that kind of failed, Mallywaggle Druid, I think was ultimately a mistake, because people were trying to have both. Malygos couldn't beat armor. Togwaggle really had difficulty about winning quickly against decks with inevitability, so people thought, why not put both in the same deck? Because it made both strategies worse. That was the issue. And so you don't want to make both strategies worse. You got to figure out, how much of Plan A am I giving away by including Plan B? And I think that's really what you're talking about here. That sometimes Plan A is the answer and you lose some matchups, or you lose some matchups to take out the right draw. And that's okay. That's going to happen. But there are ways to hedge, and there are ways to say it's not worth it. And I think ultimately the decision being made when you tech is, can I make this tech without sacrificing? And when you're building a deck, you're saying, what problem is this deck trying to solve? Like Appa was talking about, what am I trying to do? And what am I trying to do that's different than what an existing deck already does? And there are good answers to that. And I think it's worth doing more often than people are willing to do. I think a lot of the time, people get scared of building something new and say, I'll just stick with established decks. I am this way. But I think it's often worth it to try building something, especially when you hit a ranked floor. We've got a few friends of the show that are really good at this, right? Wicked Good is really good at it. Cream Puff is really good at it. Nikolaius, Rebobson, obviously. Very strong opinions about 1-drops and Control Warrior. Very, very strong opinions. And there are lots of ways to build a deck that might not be immediately obvious, where you can kind of change the course of how your results are based on something you figure out, and you're the first one to figure it out. That happens sometimes. So don't be afraid to take a chance, and don't be afraid to take into account what other people are doing, but also try something new and realize the value of surprise. Look at our boy Hatul. Hatul was not messing around. He was not playing things that people knew about. He said, oh, you think you're ready for this metagame? 5 mana 2/7. You're not ready for my 5 mana 2/7. And hey, he's top 16. He made his way out of groups. It's sometimes doing something a little different is really worth it. So, anything else to add, gentlemen?
Not really. I mean, kind of a short topic, but I mean, it's like short and sweet. I feel like it's something people really shy away from for the most part. I mean, I do too. I feel like I build decks a reasonable amount, but they're mostly shaman, and the majority of them are bad. But I feel like
that's another big thing, is just, if you're gonna build decks, be prepared for a lot of them to not work. Because I feel like I build a fair number of decks, and they just, you play them a little bit and realize that it's not the
Yeah.
hotness that you thought it might be.
Yeah. Though
And
I did
be
build my
okay
decks
with it,
for...
because you learn a lot from it.
I did build my decks for my match against Stormrage, and Murabi Shaman was good enough. It got us there. So, yeah, I mean, it's the reason that we're keeping this topic on the shorter side is because deck building is a crazy, huge, expansive topic and skill set that needs to be developed over years of practice and experience. Can't really do that in 20 minutes. So we're not going to try. What we are going to say is suggest that you try it. Think about what we try and think about when we do it. And by we, I mean not specifically me, because I rarely do it. And then give it a shot. Because it creates a new element of the game. And a lot of the players that are doing well this year, consistently, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, they're not net decking. They're the ones that are creating the decks that we end up playing. So not everyone's going to make the next Q block, right? There are some of these strategies and innovations that one person comes up with and then get copied because it's a crazy idea. But there are other things that the community will slowly iterate on. Odd Rogue is a big one, I think. Even Paladin over time really changed in both previous metas and this meta. Cube Hunter has really
Raza
evolved.
Priest.
Raza Priest took forever to refine. Remember when it used to be a slow, grindy control deck? And then someone's like, well, how about this Velen and how about this Mind Blast? And then people are just like, oh, dead. So, it's... You can be part of that process, that iterative process, and if you get there a week or two before anybody else, it works in your favor. So, definitely consider that. All right.
Yeah, that's why I kind of do the opposite of Hat, where he's like, I hoard all the deck lists at the start of the expansion, and I'm just like, get me in there. I just want to build a bunch of stuff because I just want to try things and figure out how stuff works together.
And the great thing about Hearthstone is that there's room for both those things to exist. But gentlemen, I have two questions to ask. The first one is, are you excited for BlizzCon? And the second,
How long can this go on?
and I know
Is
the answer
first
for both.
question rhetorical?
It's very
Rhetorical.
rhetorical. Yes.
Is that like a tortoise? A rhetorical tortoise?
But did it make it to the water? That is the question. Anyways, there's no questions here. We're all excited for BlizzCon, and the show can go on until we all finish talking. So, thanks to Stefan for letting us use his cover. Check him out on his channel, link in our show notes. Big thanks to Wicked Good for deck analysis, Hearthstone for Decklists, Liquipedia for tournament info, Hearthstone tournaments, and YouTube for tournament VODs. Show notes for this week's episode are on our website, CoinConcede.com. You can support our show at patreon.com/CoinConcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/CoinConcede Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede. If you like some CC swag, head on over to our shop, shop.coinconcede.com, and the new shop at Dad Legend. Check it out. Super cool shirt. Happy birthday, Bodicus. Big thanks to our producers, Viriatus, Tacos, and Floral. And we've got some coin concedes. All right, I'm going first. I get to do this. You can't stop me because I wasn't here last week. And so, big coin concedes, the biggest of coin concedes, to Bot, Appa, and Taylor for holding down the fort last week. Had some family stuff go on. Fortunately, a death in the family. Very sudden. Well, let me rephrase. It was not sudden and unexpected in the family member's condition, but there's no day where you're planning on that to happen. So, happened on that day. Big coin concedes to everyone who reached out and sent their love and well wishes. I am okay, we are okay, but your support means a lot. Big coin concedes to eggnog. It is eggnog season, and I love it so much. And I am referring to, this is not about alcohol. This is about two things, egg and nog. That's all you need. And so I
Just need a fresh cup of nog in the morning.
it's not in the morning. That's bad because I take the train. That's a war crime. But when I got home,
Biological warfare.
when I got home today, I grabbed myself a glass of nog and I slammed it, and it was delicious and delightful. Now, I'm not going to say I'm above an alcohol nog. I am not, but I'm going to say eggnog is a pleasure unto its own. And also, big props to the game Eternal and everyone else who's been talking to me about playing it. It is super fun. And the first day I played it, I was like, I don't know, this is really magic-y. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. But their mobile client has actually no compromises compared to their desktop client. And the game has a ton of game modes and is somewhat grindable and has achievable goals and lots of positive reinforcement. So I've been enjoying that. I've been multi-gaming, getting that along with some Hearthstone while I'm waiting for Hearthstone to kind of add more game modes. I feel like Eternal almost has too many, which is a very different problem. And then, of course, playing some WoW. So coin concedes to my Blood Death Knight because tanking is much easier when you just heal yourself back up to full. And coin concede to Bodicus for healing me through many dungeons. I think that's all the coin concedes I have for now. Reserve the right to have more later. Bodicus, you go next.
So I would like to first coin concede to Andrew from the Happy Hearthstone. I'm so excited to meet him in a couple days, but he had me record a very brief segment of predictions for what I expect to happen at BlizzCon, and I re-listened to the episode, and I was very surprised that nobody else got the correct prediction, which is obviously going to be mine. So I hope you're all ready for the banana-themed expansion. It's going to be great. I would also like to coin concede to Taylor Eve, one for being on the show last week, but mainly because she played the Murloc Shaman deck and was higher legend rank than Appa, and then tweeted out a sweet post, and I was pretty I was pretty excited about that the deck was not only doing well in my hands, but was also doing well in hers as well. And yeah, excited for BlizzCon. Excited. Can't say it enough. Appa, coin concedes.
I'm gonna coin concede to Hat because he was a big old sweetheart and reserved an extra BlizzCon ticket for me in the window where they were being sold. So that's why I got my BlizzCon ticket this year. So big coin concede to him, and then coin concede to everybody I'm about to see at BlizzCon. So if you listen to this before or after, I'm excited to see you. Come see me. I'll be hanging out with Bodicus, Taylor, and Hat probably all of the time. And let's take pictures. I'll give you a hug.
Oh, also, coin concede in advance to Bodicus and Appa for getting me their audio tonight before they go to bed. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Maybe.
Bodicus.
Come on.
You didn't get a cake, but the listeners can get an episode. All right. And speaking of that, where can people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at BodicusHS. You could also follow me on Twitch, even though I haven't streamed in a really long time, twitch.tv/Bodicus.
You can find me on Twitter at Appa_HS or twitch.tv/AppaHS. And I'm getting a sub badge made really soon of Taylor took a really goofy picture of our puppy earlier today, and her face just is the derpiest thing in the world. She looks like an actual moron attacking, I think it's a leaf, but she made a really funny face. So that's going to be my sub badge for my channel. So check that out. I think I'm almost at 250 followers. Yeah, approaching that, but I need to get back to streaming after BlizzCon. So keep an eye out for that on Monday, probably.
And you can find me on Twitter at RidiculousHat and on Discord wherever Hearthstone is discussed at RidiculousHat. And that'll do it for our show. See you guys at BlizzCon. Couple days. Woo! And please keep calm. Please brush your teeth. And if you see us on the ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Take cold comfort in your victory. You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death. You have triumphed. This time, this hunt is yours.